I recently just picked up a box copy of The Last Action Hero on Nintendo. Pretty uncommon title, so let's check it out. If you don't already know, you can pretty much guarantee that any movie-based game on Nintendo totally sucks. There are a few exceptions of course, but that's mostly true. So is The Last Action Hero any good, and how accurate is it to the movie? Well, I haven't seen The Last Action Hero since I was a kid, so I actually watched it immediately after playing this game, and it pretty much follows it, I guess. The Last Action Hero follows Danny, a kid who loves movies, especially Arnold Schwarzenegger action flicks. Arnold plays a character Jack Slater in a long series of buddy cop films. Through some stupid 90s movie shenanigans, Danny acquires a magical movie ticket that allows the holder to go in and out of any movie universe. Danny then goes into the world of Jack Slater, becomes his sidekick, and all sorts of shit happens. There are some pretty funny parts such as Arnold playing a machine gun wielding Hamlet in a movie trailer and some pretty decent comedy back and forth with the dude that played Tywin Lannister. But otherwise, it's pretty forgettable. So how's the game? First of all, the title screen sucks. It goes back and forth from the movie title to Sony Electronics super quick. When you start the game, there are film rolls from the movies, but they're so dark and you can barely tell what's happening. Seriously, it looks awful. You don't really have a lot of time to process what's happening, and immediately you're thrown into the streets. This is Jack Slater. I understand that the NES was limited in what it could do, but surely it couldn't be that hard to make something that looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? The first thing you'll notice is that the controls feel clunky as hell to downright awful. It isn't much better than the Karate Kid on NES. Everything hits you, and while you have a fairly large health bar, you'll be surprised with how fast it goes down. The attacks in this game suck. You can punch or kick, but the hitboxes for punching are so close, it's hard to do it without getting hit. If you duck, you can punch people in the dick. That's cool at least. The kick will be your main attack, because at least it has a little bit of range to it, but it's weaker. The second level is of the Hamlet trailer in the movie, but in the movie Arnold had Uzis and was lighting dudes up. Here, you never get a weapon. It's a huge letdown. The game starts to get really hard here as you're constantly fighting with the controls and endless amounts of enemies, including a chef tossing meatballs or something at you. Remember the part of the movie where Arnold fights groundskeeper Willie? Me neither. The middle of this game feels like pointless filler. None of the enemies are engaging and the boss fights are downright lazy. Do you also remember the part of the movie where Arnold beats the shit out of the Grim Reaper? No? The end of the game is the exact same boss fight from the first level. You just punch the Ripper in the dick for a while and he dies. The end credits are some of the worst I've ever seen. It's a literal 5-second screen that barely gives you enough time to see it. How depressing. And that's about it. This is hard, but a short game that vaguely follows the movie it was based on. A full playthrough only takes about 15 minutes. I honestly don't have anything positive to say about this, so let's just focus on the negatives. The music sucks, like really bad. Most levels are just a crappy 10-second loop. The controls are also terrible. Danny, who is basically the main character of the game, doesn't make a single appearance outside of the short film reels, and Arnold never gets to pick up a gun in the game. Why? If you had slapped an LJN rainbow on the front cover of this game, it would have felt like home. This game, much like the movie, was a huge disappointment, and like I said earlier, this is a pretty hard game to find at around $60 for a loose copy. It's bad. It's a waste of time and a waste of money, and Sony Entertainment should feel bad even 30 years later for producing this garbage that they wrapped in a plastic coffin and called a video game. I give it 1 star, simply because it's too playable to get a lower rating.